All right, so welcome to Philadelphia Walks PTSD. My name is Sharon Cole, or Sharon, or Cole, whatever you want to refer to me as. No big deal, in a good way. Don't care. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never hurt me. As they say, of course, words do hurt people. Someone made up that saying like 300, potentially 400 years ago. We live in a modern society, and so on and so on. And I do see, right, every once in a while when I start these live streams, it's kind of on the rare side. So I'll just report it right now. I put it on private before, while I'm taping the live stream. And there's a little indicator, like if someone comes into your live stream, I can see if there's one person, two people, or three. But when it's set on private, no one should come in at all. I would just, open up the video for later. But every once in a blue moon, a little one will appear up there. And it's almost as if something's wrong with the way that this was set up today. So just really quick, I live in an apartment building. The Wi-Fi is free unless you want to pay for a service, which, duh, I don't want to pay for a service. I don't have that much money. I guess if you have more money and you feel like you have a bundle or all kinds of stuff with a TV. I don't use the TV. I don't have money for that either. I use the free Wi-Fi. It's sort of like being in a Starbucks, kind of. I think it's more secure than that, but I literally just choose the generic Latham option in the Wi-Fi. So I do wonder, if people who are more savvy or dumb can sort of hack in through the back door, if you will. So anyway, I just wanted to say I saw one appear. It shouldn't, because I have it on private, and I know I have it on private because I checked it 3 times, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 83 times. No, we don't want a 3 in there. We'll go with a total of 87 times. Thank you. We'll go with the 7s. I can't stand the 3s, so thanks anyway. There's a whole number system that came up, and there are people I associate with the number 3, and they can stick it. So here we go. And this is based in Florida. So anyway, here we are on day 111, on April 21st, 2023. And it's my one video each day, 365-day donation ask for a life lost, robbed, stolen, tortured, raped. Can I say raped 500 times? Because I was raped. And it's a big deal that a whole bunch of people out there are playing games. And some of these people, by law, by the actual definition of rape, they would be considered rapists. And they're walking around acting like therapists or prosecutors. Or, hey, let's bring in the barges. Dude. Or, hey, you're coming in for landing. Crash. By definition, and people who enable or coerce, and all their, whatever you call them, apprentices, that's a good word, accomplices, people who set people up. Ooh, this is too funny. Let's get Sharon drunk. She's in school. Oh my God, can you believe the parents aren't home this weekend? We can set her up with so-and-so who's a horn dog. He doesn't even know that she's 17, not 18, which is technically a statutory rape because he's above 18. So we have a lot of people out there. If we get Sharon pregnant, her sister wound up pregnant, everybody has to then lead a certain type of life. And it's incredibly difficult when you're younger to have kids and be able to afford them. It's a very serious matter that people set people up to be, and this is not to negate people who are born already. It's just other people will set people up to have a harder time of it, a harder life, while they steal everything. They're behind the scenes. Let's make life harder. 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 So the people who have big houses and toys and cars and seemingly okay jobs, and they go on vacations and they do this and they do that, they set people up to have a harder life while they steal everything. That's about it. That happens a lot. So we'll get to the point of the matter today. I'll go through my usual stick. The fourth Monday of January 2011, somebody set me up. I was made to believe I'd be murdered in my apartment. It was a big-ass deal. I was scared shitless, convulsing. Forget trembling and shaking, convulsing to the point where I couldn't even hold my phone. My muscles went completely limp. I couldn't speak. Everything froze in my vocal cords. It took about 2 minutes, maybe longer. I don't know how long it took before I called my sister. I didn't want to call my mom and aunt because they were asleep. This was like 3:30 in the morning. My sister convinced me to call police. They came out. They might as well kick the pebbles on the. They acted like they. Oh gosh, golly gee. They acted like they were in the Andy Griffith show. Well, one of the issues is this van here was. I think it's just a University of Pennsylvania van coming here to pick up people after hours. I don't think so. I contacted Internal Affairs about those police. It's so many years later. At the time, I didn't know what to do. My brain was so scrambled and freaked out. It took me forever. I just worked. I kept working because people kept giving me dog walks and overnights. I was human trafficked through dog walking. That is a fact at this point in time, based on the evidence gathered by other agencies. Those people magically don't work for the police department any longer, supposedly, if they did a thorough investigation. It's so many years later, odds are they aren't there just because who wants to stay in the police department in a city like Philadelphia? Let's get real. Or they were fake, because when I called the police, I resisted calling them at first for various reasons. We live in a liberal city, and you are basically punished if you actually engage the police. And when I started to call, I started to wonder because thoughts we're practically hooked up to the radio waves. Thoughts can be put through and they might not even be your own thoughts. Most people are basically normal, good people. Most people try to go on about their lives and try to live. People can put stuff through. Make her think that it's going to the CIA and not the real police department. Unless there was someone, they either wanted to make me more paranoid, or maybe that's what actually happened. The CIA could have a fake police situation. We'll handle this. They would jump in a flash to make sure the normal police didn't really know what was going on. They can do that. They can do things in a flash, right quick. We'll take over. But you know how fast your thoughts operate? That's how fast things can happen. They happen at the speed of light, at the speed of thought. So anyway, these people come out, they didn't. I almost should have offered them tea and cookies or donuts. I was afraid to be asking too much. I was on the step, I was trembling like this, and they didn't do anything else but say, well, gosh, kick and stone. Well, guess it was a van. They didn't offer to say, well, if you want us to take a look in the basement, we're allowed to come in. They are allowed to come in. It's not like they need a warrant. They're allowed to say, if you want us to look in the basement, if you want us to look around, it seems like everything's okay, but we'll double check just for your peace of mind. Well, if you want to accompany, I would have been afraid to walk down with them to the basement because it was so bad that I was like, are they complicit in this? I don't want to be murdered by a group of people who are all complicit in harming someone or carrying out a joke. I wondered if they thought this was a joke. The next day, I would try to call my mom. I dragged my sister up here to walk dogs with me. And that never happens. I would never demand anything of anyone or force someone to do something. I don't force people to do stuff. I was so desperate. I begged and begged and begged, and she kind of agreed. And then I drove down and brought her back. Tried to call my mom and aunt. We're sorry, the number you're trying to reach has been disconnected, which means what? Someone cut the phone lines. If I had tried to contact them in the middle of the night, that would have added to the horror and the paranoia effect of these movie makers or whoever they are. Are you allowed to just like interrupt in someone's life? Who played God? I was trying to figure out why these people did this or who they thought they were. Because I started to wonder, like, is this some sort of like behavioral thing? And a bunch of Philadelphia experiment researchers who are totally retarded and dumb, who don't deserve the chance to play God, decided to come in and do this. And I did wonder if it was because I found myself in the LGBT community and kind of found a home there. I did find people to hang out with, and better than being alone half the time. I can't tell because some of the people from the LGBT community behaved very poorly, considering that usually that's the community that helps and supports people who are rejected by the status quo. So this leads me to another thing. I found myself in the LGBT community. I don't know if someone was upset by this and decided to switch everything as if, and these would be very low-brained people who don't realize that people find a home when they're rejected and they don't know how to do the old school thing of getting married, having kids. If people are rewarded in the status quo world of the same old man, woman marries, they have kids, they have a certain type of job, or whatever, they maintain a house, that is incredibly racist and sexist. To punish someone who I can't force someone to marry me and have kids, right? I want to know how it's done. I want to know how people do wind up married and having kids. That better question. Arranged. So this whole LGBT thing leads me to the word dyke. Now, of course, there's D-I-K-E or D-Y-K-E, and there's a dyke march and this, that, and the other. And a dyke would actually be like spikes put into the ground. That's what they use in the world of lumber. Although when you go up to New York, they actually have a big lumber store right off the Lincoln Tunnel there called Dyke's Lumber, but it's spelled, I don't know if it's female owned or lesbian owned, but it's spelled D-Y-K-E-S. If you look up D-Y-K-E-S, they have top billing there on the search engine optimization on Google. Dyke's Lumber in New York. Technically, they would be New Jersey because they're just on the New Jersey side of the bridge, of the tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel, near that high school that has the football field as you wind around and before you get into the tunnel to go over to Manhattan. So anyway, which leads me to the Dyke story. And I thought, well, it'll be kind of funny today, kind of, because it's Pelican dikes. And you know how pelicans kind of stand on those posts all the time in, say, like Florida or what have you. That's usually where you would find them in warmer climates or tropical climates. And my aunt loved pelicans for some reason, and she had been living in Florida for many, many years after she married someone and had 2 kids. They then moved down to Florida. She divorced him later, wound up with someone else, and then ultimately wound up in Gainesville. My mom and she were shacked up in their older age, per se, in their second home. They lived in Jacksonville first. My mom moved to Jacksonville to be closer to my aunt and her husband. My aunt's husband passed away. Then my mom and aunt moved in together. And then in 2011, they put that house up for sale. And in 2012, they moved to Gainesville, Florida. And a pelican, of course, looks like this. And it's kind of funny because a pelican looks like, oops, sorry, I did something bad. I'm guilty. So a pelican kind of represents, it can be kind of silly. And in my aunt's case, it's kind of silly, maybe, unless her sons know something that the rest of us don't. Oops, sorry, we did something wrong. So anyway, there's in this development where my mom and aunt wound up, it's a 55 and older community, Turkey Creek Forest in Gainesville, Florida. They move in. They had the same address for many years in there, like lot number 311, whatever, Quail Court. Around 2017-ish or so, the emergency system came in and they took a vote and they changed it to better serve the emergency response system, or I guess that's the reason they gave. So their addresses all changed to very convoluted, like really hard addresses, as opposed to being easy addresses. Do you think it was because of this? Also, at the front of the development, there were these two women who moved in. I think they moved in after my mom and aunt. I'm not positive, but I'm almost certain. And this would be a lesbian couple. I kind of feel like people were maneuvered and arranged because I wound up in the LGBT community. And I kind of feel like they were put there on purpose, either to sort of rub it in or as if they were educating or showing their support of the LGBT community. Whatever it is, there was too much of an agenda. Like, people, just be natural. Just go on about your life. People have too many agendas. We do things on purpose. We're intentional. We're this and that. Just exist. There's so many people who are overly intentional and purposeful that they totally mess everybody up. It's wrong to be overly intentional and purposeful. Like, do things very much on purpose. You could be thinking that you're doing things on purpose as if, oh, we're going to do this because as if, all roads to hell are paved with good intentions. So one of the ladies from this couple at the front was coming over to my aunt's house. This was after my mom passed away. So it would have been sometime in 2020. My mom passed away in July of 2020. So somewhere between July and, and December when my dad passed away. But anyway, and he lived somewhere else. So she comes over because she was going to give my aunt number 2 or a second Pelican on one of these posts. She had already given my aunt one to put in the front lawn. She had a second one, asked her if she wanted it. So my aunt would just be like, sure, that's fine, whatever. So this woman drives over, and technically these are really light. The woman could have handled it. My aunt was kind of, she was 84 when she passed away. And she would have been 83 or 84, depending on when this woman came over, if it was before or after her birthday. And, it could be a little bit awkward for my aunt to maneuver that thing, but the other woman could have done it. Turns out it was really light, but they asked me, hey, Sharon, can you help us pull, as if I hadn't been, they kind of had the attitude also as if I hadn't worked for 8 different entities while there. I worked so many jobs and so many hours that they probably felt like losers. So had to deflect the blame. Sharon, you should really get a job if you have to move out and find an apartment. And it's like, I've been working 8 jobs. What are you talking about? But it makes them feel better to say out loud that there's something wrong with me. You see what I mean? They know they're wrong, and they feel so badly about being lazy losers that they have to make it seem like I was the one sitting around. That's how messed up it gets. And you're like, do you want me to pull out all my W-2s and W-4s and all my paychecks? They have to spin it around. Sharon, you just get a job. Just get a job. And it's like, what conversation did you just start? I have a job. So I don't even know why they brought up this thing. It was because I had to move really quick and I was worried. So I was like, okay, I have to move really quick. I started to worry, like, I'm not sure what to do because I have to move so quickly because of these baby cousins, these baby men desperately needing to sell my aunt's house. And it's like, what are you talking about? So anyway, back to the story. This woman brings over this very light Pelican on a stick or Dyke. And she happened to be a Dyke, which is funny. That's why I said Pelican Dykes. So I tried to make it a little bit funny, but she asked me to come out to help during a time when I was there. And it was probably a weekend, whatever, don't care. And I step into the back of her sort of it wasn't quite as big as an SUV. It was sort of like a Honda CRV or similar. And it was like a hatchback-ish or whatever. So I step in there and all of a sudden she's got her hands all on my back, all on my back, all on my back, all on my back. I was like, this is weird. What is wrong? What the f- is wrong with these people? You have some of the dumbest idiots in Gainesville, Florida. You have people who are actually borderline rapists. What the fuck? I was like, then someone was like, maybe she was trying to show like you were manhandled and she was trying to show Aunt Jane in an indirect way, but she was still manhandling me. Do you know what I mean? She made it worse. Hands all over. And I'm like trying to back out of the CRV with this very light Pelican on a Dike thing. And I have to be civil and nice to these people. Would you want to be friendly with a bunch of people who are playing games all the time and living overly intentionally to the point that you're like short-circuiting all over the place? And everybody has to be civil and nice. I'm supposed to be grateful? Fuck you. All those people should be grateful they're alive. They should be grateful that a criminal family allows them to be approved for houses. A criminal entity allows them to actually find houses with their trashy selves. There are people with higher class people who have a hard time getting approved. And you have all that trash? And I mean it. They are part of gang stalking. That would be another extension of gang stalking. She had to get it in. Are people retarded? Everyone. Low class, trash, and retarded. And I don't care what I sound like. They were so bad. Oh gosh, just get a job, just get a job. I'm like, I had 8 jobs. What else do you want me to do? Everybody else is sitting around on their ass, living off of other people. Asses. So there's your Pelican Dyke's story. And I would like to know how those people wound up at the front of the development and why they're there and what they thought their role was. And can anyone just live and pursue hopes and dreams as opposed to teaching everybody else as if these people force themselves on other people, as if you need to be taught. I come on here to express my voice. If you choose to turn on whatever, I would never force my teachings on people. I would never go around preaching. All these people think they're supposed to teach people stuff. No, just exist. Be the change you want to be in society. Maybe if you work out or do whatever it is that you like to do to make yourself feel better, maybe someone will see it and think, oh, I want to do that. That's as far as teaching goes. But these people force their teaching as if, and they're lazy, and they're acting as if the hardest working person is supposed to get a job. They will actually not make sense in a conversation. They will actually make you feel guilty because they're guilty. Hundreds of hours of working. Well, really thousands. 2.5 years of constantly working, even on holidays, to get the extra holiday pay. And these people act like you need a job. Fuck you, fat asses. You might want to get off your ass. Is.